Imagine starting your day with freshly baked cornetto and shot of espresso before making your way to your work. Your walk takes you down winding cobblestones, past Renaissance buildings and trickling fountains. After work, you plan to head down to your local market before meeting some of your friends for a refreshing aperitivo. Rome is without a doubt one of the most captivating and eclectic cities in the world. There are only a handful of places where you can find 2,000-year-old ancient monuments sitting unchanged in the middle of a vibrant and modern capital city, making Rome utterly unique. It is one of the oldest continually inhabited settlements in the world, and I had the privilege to live there for 12 months, so today you'll hear the pros and cons of living in Rome from someone who's experienced them firsthand. Let's dive right into it. Rome is located in the central west portion of the Italian peninsula along the shores of the Tiber River. It is the third most populous city in the European Union by population within city limits. Vatican City, which is also the smallest country in the world, is an independent country inside the city boundaries of Rome, the only existing example of a country within a city. For this reason, Rome has sometimes been defined as the capital of two states. The Rome of the Kings was built on 7 hills: the Aventine Hill, the Caelian Hill, the Capitoline Hill, the Esquilino Hill, the Palatino Hill, the Quirnale Hill, and the Viminale Hill. Modern Rome is also crossed by another river, the Aniene, which flows into the Tiber north of the historic center. Although the city center is about 24 kilometers inland from the Tyrrhenian Sea, the city territory extends to the shore, where the southwestern district of Ostia is located. The altitude of the central part of Rome ranges from 13 meters above sea level at the base of the Pantheon to 139 meters above sea level, the peak of Monte Mario. Rome has Mediterranean climate with hot, dry summers and mild, humid winters. Its average temperature is 21 degrees Celsius during the day and 9 degrees during the night. During the coldest month, January, the average temperature is 12.6 degrees during the day and 2.6 degrees during the night. During the hottest month, August, the average temperature during the day is 31.7 degrees. That's one of the main reasons why all offices and non-essential businesses tend to close for 3 weeks during August, and everybody leaves the city. The downside of this is that if you live in Rome, you're very likely to take 2 or 3 weeks of your holiday in August, which leaves you only 1 additional week of paid holiday per year. If you think that Rome can only offer you hills and sea, you are very mistaken. In fact, the highest mountain in the Apennines and the second highest mountain in Italy outside the Alps is located only 2-hour drive away from Rome. Gran Sasso d'Italia, with its highest peak, Corno Grande, sitting at 2,912 meters above sea level, offers breathtaking views and it's perfect for a weekend getaway. There are regular buses from Rome to L'Aquila, and I mean pretty regular. When I went there with a friend, we got a bus from L'Aquila to Rome, which left at 1 a.m. The Lake Bracciano is another popular site you can explore. It is one of the largest lakes in Italy, and by the way, here is where the majority of households in Rome get their water from, not the Tiber River. It is located only 30 kilometers away from Rome, and you can get here on foot if you like trekking and you know pain. I have actually done it, and it took me 12 hours to walk from Rome to Bracciano. But even if something goes wrong, there are plenty of nearby towns where you can get your train back to Rome. Another cool thing about Rome is that the city has so many parks where you can escape from the busyness of the city. Some of the most notable ones include Villa Borghese, Villa Doria Pamphili, Villa Sciara, Villa Torlonia, Parco di Torre Fiscale, Villa Ada, and others. In the beginning, living in Italy is very exciting. It is quite different from any English-speaking country. You get a little thrill every time it takes you a few minutes to realize that you turn the bathroom sink on by foot pedal, but next time you remember to look for it right away. The beginning is full of little discoveries like that. However, it is still Western Europe, so you're pretty safe from getting into real trouble culturally. It is important to understand that life in Rome has two sides. It is an amazing city to live in if you're a person who lives in the moment. You can meet so many new and interesting people. There are tons of cultural events happening around you all the time. and you will be living in one of the most historical cities in the world. In that sense, it's the quality that counts here, not the hours you spend at work, the house that you live in, or the money you're making. That's the reason why so many young expats, including myself, find it very easy to fit in well in the city and make it their home very quickly. You don't have to climb the career ladder or commit to your work in the office, and you still feel a sense of accomplishment. As long as you earn enough to get by, you can have a brilliant life in Rome. However, if you're passionate about kickstarting your career or building a very good financial base in your 20s and 30s, Rome can be a quite challenging city for you. I'm not saying it's impossible, but surely you have a lot of hurdles to overcome. Let's start with the basic ones. Prices for accommodation in Rome are pretty steep unless you plan to head away from the action and live in the sticks. If you are young and single, you'll find the perfect house share after you've been in the city for a while and you made some good friends to share with. For a starter, however, you can start by looking on the likes of Easy Stanza, which lists currently available flat shares. However, I personally don't recommend to you to get a house share or a flat before you've arrived in the city. I stayed at an Airbnb for 2 weeks before I finally found what I was looking for, and it was totally worth it. Be prepared to look at tons of offers and act quickly because it's really challenging. Renting a 2-bedroom flat can cost you anywhere from 850 euros to 2,500 euros depending on your location. The city has a good network of public transport. It has 3 metro lines and tons of bus lines. The monthly pass is also quite cheap. It's only 35 euros and it covers all means of public transport. However, Rome has huge problem with traffic and parking spaces. The rush hour is literally like a scene from World War Z, and I'm not even kidding. To get to work to Rome, I had to use both the metro lines and a bus line, and I would highly recommend to you to do your research very well on how connected your living area is to the area of your workplace, especially if you're relying on public transport to make it to work. Try to minimize the journey to work by selecting a more central flat, if you can afford it, of course. Trust me, it would be worth it. The last thing you want is to be exhausted from work at the end of the workday and be stuck in a bus for 2 hours to get home. In that regard, the subway is a lot more reliable. It tends to be quite busy too, but it will save you for sure some time. And time is one of your biggest assets in Rome. Time to meet people, time to explore the city, and time to rest. Now it's time for the hard bit: salaries. Well, how can I say this? If you don't know how to live within a budget, Rome will teach you. In terms of purchasing power, the city was ranked 61st in Europe by Numbeo, right after Zagreb and just before Bucharest. The average monthly salary is 1,400 euros and the expenses for a single person are about 850 euros without rent. In my opinion, young professionals in most fields will struggle to earn above 1,000 euros in their first couple of months, and that money will hardly be enough for you to afford living in the city. Another thing I must mention is the food. I actually moved from Glasgow to Rome and I was shocked how tastier the food and especially the vegetables and the fruits were. Other local products such as cheese, meat and wine would make your day so much better, like you wouldn't believe. In terms of pollution, don't expect that you'll be living in a clean paradise. The city has always had this major problem with overflowing garbage containers. In the area where I lived, it wasn't that bad. The containers tend to be neglected during the weekend, but during the week there were no issues whatsoever. Coming from the UK, I was used to having your garbage containers in your building or right in front of it, but in Rome I had to walk for several blocks to get to the public ones on the street. The tap water and the air are also not the best, but this is expected considering the size of the city. This year it was ranked the 12th most polluted city in Europe, so there's your evidence for that. Nevertheless, it sounds worse than it actually is. Trust me, it wouldn't bother you that much and it's very easy to get used to. There are just a lot of things happening around you that you'll be so excited about that you won't pay too much attention on these matters. Now let's talk about the residents of Rome. The population of Rome in 2020 was 2.84 million in the city limits and 4.2 million including the suburbs. It is the most populous city in Italy and 7th most populous city in Europe. 9.5% of Rome's population is non-Italian, with half the immigration population having European origins, most notably Romanian, Ukrainian, Polish and Albanian, for a total of 4.7% of the population. The other 4.8% is comprised of immigrants with non-European origins, particularly Filipinos, Bangladeshis, Peruvians, and Chinese. The unemployment rate is relatively high. It was 9.3% in 2020 and 12.7% in 2014. In 2019, women were earning on average 3,000 euros less than men annually. However, the gender pay gap was slowly decreasing over the last few years. 12.7% in favor of men in 2016 and 11% in favor of men in 2020. Much like the rest of Italy, Rome is predominantly Christian. The city has always been a major center for religion and pilgrimage. Just get this, there are 900 churches in Rome. That means there is one church for every 3,000 people. 82% of the people identify as Catholics, and as far as I'm concerned, approximately 82% of the people in Rome are ethnic Italians. Rome has always been one of the most important centers for education in Europe. Its first university, La Sapienza, is one of the largest universities in the world with over 140,000 students attending. In 2013, La Sapienza University of Rome was ranked 62nd in the world and number 1 in Italy in terms of quality of education. I went to Rome in 2017. I had just gotten my bachelor's degree and I had to take a year out to practice. At that time, I was already quite frustrated of the weather in Scotland, and I just felt the need to travel a little bit more and experience other cultures. And of course, what better place to practice architecture than Rome? I must say it was relatively easy to get an internship. I was not getting paid much, just a couple of €100 per month, but together with the Erasmus Plus program and some savings, I was good. Now, I cannot say a bad word about Italians. All of my colleagues there and all the people that I met were always super friendly and helpful. They were genuinely interested in getting to know me and practice their English with me. I met some really amazing people there, and although I read some bad things about Italians on the internet and how difficult it is to become friends with them, I had totally different experience. However, one thing I must mention as a big problem in Rome is homeless people. For a starter, there are a few thousand Romani gypsies camping on the outskirts of the city who live in miserable conditions. The places they've been living in for years look more like temporary camps than actual solid dwellings. They're estimated to be 8,000 homeless people in Rome, and unless you stick to the city center for the most part, you will most likely witness that on a daily basis. But anyway, let's not forget that we're talking about Rome here, one of the greatest cities in the world, and let's move on to the last part. Rome is an important center for music, and it has an intense musical scene, including several prestigious music conservatories and theaters. It hosts the Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia, founded in 1585, for which new concert halls have been built in the new Parco della Musica, one of the largest musical venues in the world. Rome today is one of the most important tourist destinations in the world. Among the most significant resources are the many museums, Musei Capitolini, the Vatican Museums, and the Galleria Borghese. Aqueducts, fountains, churches, palaces, historical buildings, monuments, and ruins, catacombs. Traveling back in time is easy in Rome. Rome is the third most visited city in the EU, right after London and Paris, and it receives approximately 7 to 10 million tourists per year. The Colosseum with 4 million tourists and the Vatican Museums with 4.2 million tourists are in the top 40 most visited places in the world. Rome is also widely recognized as a world fashion capital. Although it is not as important as Milan, Rome is the fourth most important fashion center in the world. In 2009, it was ranked only behind Milan, New York, and Paris, thus way beating even London. Major luxury fashion houses and jewelry chains such as Valentino, Fendi, and Bulgari are either headquartered here or were founded in the city. Other major labels such as Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci, Prada, Chanel, Armani have luxury boutiques in Rome, primarily along its prestigious and upscale Via dei Condotti. During the Renaissance, Rome became well known as a center of high cuisine, since some of the best chefs of the time worked for the popes. An example of this was Bartolomeo Scapi, who was a chef working for Pius IV in the Vatican kitchen. He acquired fame in 1570 when his cookbook Opera dell'arte del cucinare was published. In the book, he lists approximately 1,000 recipes of the Renaissance cuisine and describes cooking techniques and tools, giving also the first known picture of a fork. In the modern age, the city developed its own peculiar cuisine based on products of the nearby Campania, as lamb and vegetables. Pizza places are of course everywhere. Small cafes, sweet shops, ice cream shops are always just around the corner. Italians love their salads. In the office where I was working in, During our lunch breaks, we all got together and everybody was participating in making salads in these huge quantities so everybody could have some. There were some popular combinations of foods which were pretty weird to me, to be honest, such as prosciutto and melon or figs and bread. Another thing I loved about their culture is of course having coffee together in the morning or right after lunch outside the office in the nearby cafe, or going for aperitivo with some of your colleagues after work. Seriously, they do that every day. Rome also hosts the Cinecittà Studios, the largest film and television production facility in continental Europe and the center of the Italian cinema, where many of today's biggest box office hits are filmed. The 99-acre studio complex is located only 9 kilometers from the center of Rome and is part of one of the biggest production communities in the world, second only to Hollywood, with well over 5,000 professionals. Needless to say, Italians love their football. The city is the home of two great Italian clubs, Roma and Lazio, which also host their games on the same stadium, Stadio Olimpico. No matter how good you think you're in football, don't brag too much before you've played a game with the locals. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience here. We will finish with some notable sites you must visit. Baths of Caracalla, built by Emperor Caracalla in the 3rd century. Villa Farnesina, or how the wealthy lived during the Renaissance. The Appian Way, the most famous ancient road in Rome. National Roman Museum, if you want to soak in as much of Rome's history, heritage and culture. Victor Emmanuel II Monument, built in honor of Victor Emmanuel, the first king of a unified Italy. Piazza del Popolo, with an obelisk from ancient Egypt. Ostia Antica, that once was the seaport for Rome. Palatine Hill, it was here a wolf allegedly found the twin boys Romulus and Remus, and cared for them until a shepherd rescued them. Galleria Borghese, sculptures by Bernini and the National Museum of Musical Instruments can be seen here. St. Peter's Square, where hundreds of thousands of people gather to hear messages from the Pope. Piazza Navona, an immensely popular place to sip a cappuccino and watch street performers. Castel Sant'Angelo. Over the years it has been a mausoleum, a castle, a fortress, a prison, and now of course a museum. The Roman Forum, the site of triumphal processions and elections, venue for public speeches, and nucleus for commercial affairs. The Spanish Steps, a truly monumental stairway of 135 steps. The Trevi Fountain, designed by Nicola Salvi. This world-famous Baroque fountain features a mythological sculptural composition of Neptune, god of the sea, flanked by 2 tritons. The Vatican Museums. To keep the massive crowds under control, the museums have 4 itineraries that range from 1.5 hours to more than 5 hours. The Pantheon. Even though it is 2,000 years old, the Pantheon's famous dome remains the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. St. Peter's Basilica. The center of the Catholic world and a major tourist attraction, the Basilica of St. Peter is a huge church. It has an interior height of 120 meters. The Statue of Liberty can easily fit inside. The basilica stands on the traditional site where Peter, the apostle who is considered the first pope, was crucified and buried. Construction on the current building began in 1506 and was completed in 1615. Many famous artists worked on the complex and its surroundings. Michelangelo designed the dome, while Bernini designed the Great St. Peter's Square. The Colosseum. The elliptical amphitheater could hold up to 50,000 people who turned out to watch gladiators do battle, people be publicly executed, and enjoy other forms of entertainment. No matter the awful traffic, the ridiculously high prices, and the outrage against the transportation system, living in Rome is like being in a relationship with your soulmate. You have your fights with each other, but at the end of the day, you know you will love each other for the rest of your life. Make sure you support me by liking this video, subscribing to my channel. Sorry for being a little bit late with this video. I just moved to Luxembourg and the last couple of weeks were quite stressful. This is actually the second time I'm filming this video because the first time we rushed it too much and I wasn't quite happy with the quality. At some point I might do a second video for Luxembourg just as a quick checkup to compare my expectations with the reality here. And you can let me know in the comments if you would like to see that video. See you in the next video.